Picture this. It's 1966. The Beatles are at the height of Beatlemania. America is caught up in the space race, and television is about to witness something that would change pop culture forever. A sleek, black machine tears across the screen, more spaceship than automobile, driven by a caped crusader who's about to become a household name. The 1966 Batmobile wasn't just Batman's ride. It was a rolling miracle of engineering, artistry, and pure desperation that almost never happened. What you're about to discover are 20 weird facts about this legendary machine that'll completely change how you see the world's most famous car. From the concept car that started it all to the drag racing version that could outrun actual race cars, we're diving deep into secrets that even longtime Batman fans don't know. Trust me, by the time we hit number 1, you'll understand why this wasn't just a TV prop. It was automotive history in the making. Number 20. It started as Ford's $250,000 concept car. Everyone knows the Batmobile began as the Lincoln Futura, but here's what they don't tell you. Ford spent $250,000 building this one-off concept car in 1955. That's over $2.5 million in today's money. The Futura wasn't just some styling exercise. It was a technological showcase built entirely by hand at Carrozzeria Ghia in Turin, Italy. Ford's top designers, Bill Schmidt and John Najjar, created something that looked like it belonged in the year 2000. The car featured a double bubble canopy top made of clear plastic, hooded headlight pods, and massive tail fins that screamed speed even when standing still. But here's the kicker. This automotive masterpiece sat gathering dust in George Barris's Hollywood shop for years. Ford had sold it to him for exactly $1 after its promotional tour ended. $1, the most expensive concept car of its era, became Hollywood's biggest bargain. Barris knew he had something special, but even he couldn't have predicted that this Italian-built dream machine would become television's most recognizable vehicle. Number 19. George Barris had just 3 weeks to save Batman. When the Batman TV series was greenlit, the producers faced a massive problem. They needed a Batmobile that looked futuristic enough for a superhero, but could actually function as a working vehicle. Originally, Dean Jeffries was hired to build the car using a 1959 Cadillac. Then, disaster struck. The studio moved up the production schedule. Jeffries needed months. The producers gave the project 3 weeks. That's when they called George Barris. Most custom car builders would have walked away. Barris saw an opportunity. He already owned the perfect starting point, that dusty Lincoln Futura sitting behind his shop. The car's dramatic lines, bubble canopies, and futuristic styling were already 70% of what Batman needed. But transforming a luxury concept car into a crime-fighting machine in 21 days, that would require every trick Barris had learned in decades of customizing Hollywood cars. The clock started ticking in October 1965. Television history hung in the balance. Number 18. Bill Cushenberry was the real metal shaper behind the magic. While George Barris gets all the credit for creating the Batmobile, the real metal work was done by a man most people have never heard of. Bill Cushenberry, known as the master of metal fabrication, was the craftsman who actually shaped the Batmobile's iconic body panels. Barris knew he needed help, and Cushenberry was the only man skilled enough to handle the complex work required. Cushenberry's shop was just blocks from Barris's North Hollywood location. He was notorious for working odd hours, often starting at midnight, and working until 6 in the morning. For the Batmobile project, he became obsessed. The Lincoln Futura's original body panels were hand-formed aluminum, incredibly difficult to modify without destroying. Cushenberry had to reshape the front end to create the bat-faced nose, extend the fins to make them more dramatic, and create the distinctive wheel openings. Every curve was hammered by hand. The man who could make metal flow like water was given 3 weeks to create a automotive poetry. He delivered a masterpiece that would define superhero transportation forever. Number 17. They swapped the Lincoln engine for reliability. The original Lincoln Futura came with a massive 368 cubic inch Lincoln Vi-8 engine. By 1965, that engine was 10 years old and had been sitting unused for years. Barris knew that for television production, reliability trumped everything. The Batmobile would need to start on command, run smoothly for hours of filming, and never break down when cameras were rolling. So they made a crucial decision. Out came the original Lincoln power plant. in went a more reliable Ford 390 cubic inch V8 from a 1966 Galaxy. This engine swap was more complex than it sounds. The Ford engine had different mounting points, required new transmission connections, and needed custom exhaust routing. But the Galaxy engine was proven, reliable, and easily serviceable. Ford dealers across the country stocked parts for it. The irony wasn't lost on Barris. He was using a regular Ford engine to power Batman's atomic turbine. The swap worked perfectly. Throughout 2 years of television production, the Batmobile's engine never let Batman down. Number 16. Multiple backup Batmobiles were built on Ford Galaxy chassis. The success of the Batman TV series created an immediate problem. Fans wanted to see the Batmobile everywhere. Car shows, dealerships, promotional events. George Barris realized one car couldn't handle the demand, so he created a production line. Barris made molds of the original Batmobile's body and began casting fiberglass replicas. These backup Batmobiles were built on 1966 Ford Galaxy chassis, stretched 11 inches to match the Futura's wheelbase. Each replica was slightly different. The dashboards were made of wood, covered in black vinyl, instead of the original's metal construction. The trim pieces were simplified. The gadgets were mostly non-functional. Barris built 4 replica Batmobiles for different purposes. Number 2 and number 3 were for promotional appearances. Number 4 became a drag racer. Number 5 was the stunt car, reinforced for crashes. Each car had its own personality and purpose, but only the original number 1, Batmobile, appeared in the actual television series. The replicas handled everything else, letting the hero car stay safe in the studio. Number 15. Batmobile number 3 was never used for TV filming. Here's a secret that collectors pay millions to ignore. Batmobile number 3, one of the fiberglass replicas, has never appeared in a single episode of the Batman television series. It was built purely for promotional appearances and car shows, yet it's often marketed as a screen-used vehicle. The confusion comes from documentation. Barris built the replicas so well that distinguishing them requires expert knowledge. Number 3 has all the visual elements of the TV car, the gadgets, the styling, the proportions, but examine it closely and the differences become obvious. The dashboard construction is wood, not metal. The trim pieces are slightly different shapes. The interior details don't match production photographs. Number 3 spent its career touring the country, appearing at Ford dealerships and car shows. It gave thousands of fans their first close look at the Batmobile. In some ways, it's more historically significant than the TV car because it directly touched so many lives, but it never saw the inside of a television studio. Today, that distinction costs millions in auction value. Number 14. Wild Bill Shrewsbury turned number 4 into a quarter-mile monster. If you thought the TV Batmobile was impressive, wait until you hear about number 4. This fiberglass replica was built for one purpose: to prove the Batmobile could actually perform. George Barris commissioned Holman and Moody to build a special engine for this car, a 427 cubic inch Ford side oiler V8 with twin 4-barrel carburetors. The engine was blueprinted for maximum power, producing well over 400 horsepower. Wild Bill Shrewsbury, already famous for his wheel-standing exhibition runs, became the Batmobile's stunt driver. This wasn't just promotional fluff. Number 4 was a legitimate drag car that could run 12-second quarter miles. It featured working parachutes for stopping, a functional flamethrower shooting from the turbine exhaust, and Art Car-prepared C6 automatic transmission. Shrewsbury would launch the car in second gear to create massive tire smoke, entertaining crowds while hitting impressive speeds. The drag racing Batmobile proved that George Barris understood entertainment value. Fans didn't just want to see the Batmobile, they wanted to believe it could do what Batman claimed. Number 13. The original Batmobile sold for a record $4.62 million. In January 2013, automotive history was made at the Barrett-Jackson auction in Scottsdale, Arizona. George Barris, now 87 years old, decided to sell the original Batmobile. The car he'd bought for $1 and transformed in 3 weeks was about to set a new record for television vehicles. The bidding started aggressively and never slowed down. Within minutes, bids exceeded $1 million. The crowd cheered as the numbers climbed higher: 2 million, 3 million, 4 million. When the hammer finally fell, Rick Champagne, a Phoenix area logistics company executive, had placed the winning bid of $4.2 million. With buyer's premium, the final price reached $4.62 million. This wasn't just an auction, it was a coronation. The Batmobile was officially recognized as the most valuable television vehicle ever sold. Champagne later revealed he'd been a Batman fan since childhood and planned to display the car in his living room. Number 12. Authentic documentation includes George Barris's personal autographs. When Rick Champagne bought the original Batmobile, he didn't just get a car. He received a complete archive of documentation proving its authenticity and history. George Barris had maintained meticulous records of the Batmobile's creation and career. Original photographs from the 3-week build process, correspondence with the television studio, promotional materials from decades of appearances, but the most valuable pieces were items bearing George Barris's personal signature, hand-signed certificates of authenticity, autographed photographs from the car's construction, personal letters detailing the build process. These signatures weren't just documentation. They were George Barris's personal guarantee of the car's legitimacy. In the collector car world, provenance is everything. Anyone can build a convincing replica, but only George Barris could sign his name to the real thing. The documentation package proved chain of custody from creation to sale. Number 11. The chassis was lengthened by 11 inches for visual drama. The original Lincoln Futura had impressive proportions, but George Barris knew television demanded even more dramatic lines, so he made a crucial modification that most people never notice. The Batmobile's chassis was stretched 11 inches longer than the original Futura. This extension wasn't just for show. It improved the car's visual balance and created space for additional gadgets and equipment. The longer wheelbase also enhanced stability during filming, making the car easier to control during chase sequences. But the real genius was visual. The extra length made the Batmobile appear even more futuristic and imposing. When it filled the screen, the car looked impossibly long and low. The proportions suggested speed, even when parked. Stretching the chassis required careful engineering. The driveshaft needed to be lengthened. The exhaust system required custom routing. The interior layout had to be reconfigured, but the visual impact was worth every challenge. Number 10. The nose could tilt up for easier entry and exit. Here's a feature that solved a practical problem most viewers never considered. The Batmobile's dramatic styling created a serious accessibility issue. The low roofline and narrow doors made getting in and out extremely difficult, especially in costume. Batman and Robin needed to enter and exit smoothly for television. Struggling with doors would destroy the show's mystique. George Barris's solution was brilliant. The entire front section of the Batmobile's nose could tilt upward on hidden hinges. This tilting mechanism provided much easier access to the cockpit without compromising the car's sleek lines. When the nose tilted up, the windshield and canopy moved with it, creating a wide opening for entry. The actors could slide into their seats gracefully, maintaining the illusion that Batman was as smooth getting into his car as he was fighting crime. The tilting nose also provided excellent access for maintenance and repairs. Number 9. Early Batmobiles used black velvet paint to hide imperfections. Here's a secret from the early days of production. The first Batmobiles weren't painted with regular automotive paint. They used black velvet paint, also called flocking. This wasn't for aesthetics. It was to hide problems. The rushed 3-week build meant compromises. The bodywork wasn't perfect. There were ripples in the fiberglass, seams that weren't quite smooth. Under normal paint, every flaw would show. The TV lights would highlight every imperfection, so they used velvet paint. This special coating contained tiny fibers that created a matte, light-absorbing surface. It hid imperfections like magic. Ripples disappeared. Seams vanished. The car looked perfect on camera. The velvet paint had other advantages. It didn't reflect studio lights. This prevented glare that could blow out the TV cameras. The matte finish also made the car look more menacing, more bat-like, but it had drawbacks. The finish was delicate. You couldn't wash it normally. Eventually, they switched to conventional paint. Number 8. Later restorations gave them glossy black finishes. As the Batmobiles aged, they needed restoration. The velvet paint was usually the first thing to go. Modern restorers replaced it with high-quality glossy black paint. This transformation was dramatic. The cars went from matte black shadows to gleaming showpieces. The glossy paint revealed the beautiful lines George Barris had created. Every curve caught the light. The orange pinstripes popped against the deep black. These weren't quick spray jobs. Professional restorers spent hundreds of hours on each car. They stripped everything down to bare fiberglass and metal. They fixed decades of damage. They smoothed every imperfection. Modern paint technology helped too. 2-stage base coat and clear coat systems created incredible depth. The black looked miles deep. The finish was more durable than anything available in 1966, but something was lost in translation. The restored cars looked better than new, but they didn't look like the original TV Batmobile. Number 7. Wild Bill Shrewsbury became the Batmobile's legendary stunt driver. Billy Louis Shrewsbury Shrewsbury, known as Wild Bill, was already famous in drag racing circles before he met the Batmobile. Born in Mansfield, Ohio, he'd moved to Southern California in 1962 and quickly made a name for himself with his spectacular wheel-standing exhibitions. When George Barris needed a driver for the drag racing Batmobile number 4, Wild Bill was the obvious choice. But this wasn't just a marketing stunt. Shrewsbury was a legitimate professional driver who understood how to entertain crowds while maintaining safety. The drag racing Batmobile became his signature act. He would launch the car in second gear to create massive tire smoke, then rocket down the strip while shooting flames from the turbine exhaust. The parachutes would deploy for dramatic stops. Crowds went wild watching Batman's car perform like a real superhero vehicle. Wild Bill toured the country with the drag racing Batmobile, appearing at tracks from coast to coast. Number 6. The TV Batmobile had many different license plates throughout the series. Sharp-eyed viewers might have noticed that Batman's license plate kept changing throughout the show's run. The original plate read 2F3567, but it wasn't the only one. During the series, the Batmobile displayed plates reading TP3567, BT-1, and BAT-1. These changes weren't continuity errors. They reflected the practical realities of television production. Different plates were used for different types of shots. Close-ups required pristine plates. Action sequences used duplicate plates that could be damaged or destroyed. Some plates were created for specific episodes or promotional photographs. The variety of plates also reflected the car's dual life as both television prop and promotional vehicle. When the Batmobile appeared at car shows or dealer events, it needed plates appropriate for that specific appearance. Different states had different requirements for exhibition vehicles. Today, these license plates are valuable collectibles. Number 5. The steering wheel was changed mid-season for better television appearance. The original Lincoln Futura came with a distinctive steering wheel that reflected its concept car origins, but television production revealed problems with this design. The wheel didn't photograph well under studio lighting. Its complex shape created shadows that obscured the actor's hands. The solution came from an unexpected source, a 1958 Edsel steering wheel. The Edsel wheel had cleaner lines that looked better on camera. Its simpler design allowed viewers to see Batman's hands clearly as he operated the controls. The change was made during the first season, but most viewers never noticed. The new steering wheel fit the Batmobile's aesthetic perfectly. It looked like it belonged in a futuristic crime-fighting vehicle. But the change represented something deeper about television production. Everything had to serve the camera first. Authentic details meant nothing if they didn't work on screen. Number 4. The car's tilting nose feature was crucial for maintenance access. Beyond helping actors enter and exit gracefully, the Batmobile's tilting nose served another crucial purpose: maintenance access. The car's low, sleek profile looked fantastic, but created serious challenges for mechanical work. Traditional hood designs would have compromised the dramatic lines George Barris had created. The tilting nose was his elegant solution. When the entire front section pivoted upward, mechanics gained excellent access to the engine compartment. Every component could be reached easily. Oil changes, tune-ups, and repairs could be performed without struggling around a conventional hood. This feature proved essential during television production. The Batmobile worked hard during filming. It needed regular maintenance to stay reliable. The tilting nose made that maintenance possible without disrupting the shooting schedule. The mechanism itself was beautifully engineered. Hidden hinges and supports allowed the heavy nose section to lift smoothly and lock securely in place. Number 3. Authentic Barrett-Jackson documentation proves provenance beyond doubt. When the original Batmobile crossed the Barrett-Jackson auction block, it came with documentation that established its authenticity beyond any reasonable doubt. This wasn't just a collection of old photographs and receipts. It was a comprehensive archive that traced every moment of the car's existence. The documentation began with Ford Motor Company records showing the Lincoln Futura's original construction and subsequent sale to George Barris for $1. Original contracts between Barris and the television studio detailed the car's conversion and rental for the Batman series. Production photographs showed the car on set during filming. Correspondence between Barris and various collectors documented decades of ownership offers, but the crown jewel of the documentation was George Barris's personal archive, handwritten notes from the original build process, personal photographs taken during construction, letters to fans explaining the car's history. Number 2. The original concept car cost Ford over $2 million in today's dollars. To truly appreciate what George Barris accomplished, you need to understand what he started with. The Lincoln Futura wasn't just any concept car. It was one of the most expensive automotive prototypes ever built. Ford spent $250,000 creating this vehicle in 1955. Adjusted for inflation, that's over $2.5 million in today's money. The car was built entirely by hand at Carrozzeria Ghia in Turin, Italy. Every panel was shaped by master craftsmen. The complex curves and unique proportions required extraordinary skill and time. The transparent canopy tops were revolutionary for their era. The paint itself was groundbreaking, using real fish scales ground into the mixture to create a unique pearlescent finish. Ford's investment in the Futura reflected the company's commitment to advancing automotive design and technology. When Ford sold the car to George Barris for $1, they were essentially giving away a multi-million-dollar prototype. Number 1. The Batmobile saved Batman and created a television legend. Here's the ultimate secret about the 1966 Batmobile. It didn't just transport Batman, it saved the entire television series. When the Batman show premiered in January 1966, critics were skeptical. A campy superhero show seemed like a risky bet, but from the moment the Batmobile roared out of the Batcave, audiences were hooked. The car became as popular as the characters themselves. Children begged their parents for Batmobile toys. Adults admired the car's sophisticated design and engineering. The Batmobile proved the television could create automotive icons just as powerful as anything from the movies. Fan mail poured in, asking about the car. George Barris received thousands of letters from people wanting to buy their own Batmobile. The car shows and promotional appearances generated massive publicity for the series. But the real magic was how the Batmobile made Batman believable. A superhero needed a super vehicle. The car's advanced gadgets and futuristic design sold the fantasy that Batman really could fight crime with superior technology. Without the Batmobile, Batman would have been just another guy in a costume. So there you have it, 20 absolutely incredible facts about the 1966 Batmobile that prove this wasn't just a television prop. It was a genuine piece of automotive artistry that happened to appear on TV. From George Barris's desperate 3-week build to Wild Bill Shrewsbury's drag strip heroics, from velvet paint to $4 million auctions, the Batmobile's story is filled with surprises that even devoted Batman fans never knew. Which of these secrets shocked you the most? And what other classic TV cars deserve this kind of deep dive? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more hidden stories from automotive and television history. Next week, we're exploring the bizarre tale of another Hollywood legend that spent decades hiding in plain sight. Until then, keep your eyes on the road, and remember that sometimes the most amazing stories come from the most unexpected places.